elections here in the UK, of course, but across Europe. Last week, Newsnight reported on the decline of the centre-left in parts of Europe and the expected gains to be made by nationalist populist parties. But is there a political cause with the potential to unite progressives across Europe in the same way as nationalist and right-wing movements have mobilised around immigration? There is, according to the former Greek finance minister Yanis Varoufakis, and it's the Green agenda. In the strangest of elections, Varoufakis is running not in Greece, but in Germany, as a lead candidate for yet another new party called Democracy in Europe. Our international editor, Gabriel Gatehouse, met him on the campaign trail.
In Europe's fractured politics, a new battleground is emerging. Climate change. Driven to the top of the agenda by activists and school children, politicians are playing catch-up with some unexpected results.
Journalists ask me, what is a Greek doing in Hanover campaigning for the election?
What indeed?
Welcome to the wild beauty of transnational, radical, humanistic European politics.
It's not exactly packed outside the Hauptbahnhof in Hanover, but then Yanis Varoufakis has a bit of a reputation here. During the Euro crisis, the former Greek finance minister, a socialist, found fame, perhaps notoriety is a better word, as the leather-clad, motorbike-riding scourge of the German-led EU establishment.
When this crisis began, those who caused it, the oligarchs, the financiers, were hoping that our proud people would turn against one another. We're saying 9 to them.
Varoufakis is spearheading a transnational coalition called European Spring. They're running dozens of candidates in 7 EU countries, and their central policy is a proposal for a pan-European Green New Deal.
And we have a plan of 500 billion every year to be spent on the green energy union that Europe needs for manufacturing and for agriculture that is greening the planet, not destroying it.
Varoufakis attracts a crowd whose politics is firmly on the left.
I think there are some there's similars with the Green Party and this party.
Right, so you might vote for...
I'm not decided yet.
Okay. Let's be clear. Varoufakis' party is tiny. This country already has a well-established Green Party that's vying for second place in these elections, but politics is in flux. Away from the political campaigns, Germany has a long history of traditional environmental activism, but some might say that has failed. Europe's industrial powerhouse is still largely fueled by coal.
We are protesting for something, for our quality, for life, for saving Mother Earth, and for stop the open pit cast mining.
The Humbach forest, or what's left of it, stands atop a rich layer of lignite, or brown coal. The diggers want to get at the rest of it. The protesters want to stop them. Or at least, most of them do. And why are you here, Linus?
Because my mother forced me to be here.
Oh dear. So why did your mother force you to come here?
I'm actually a school teacher, and just looking at the machines, they look like parasites feeding off the earth, and it's disgusting.
The German government has pledged to phase out coal by 2038, but the protesters say that will be too late for the forest and for the planet. Amid a growing sense of urgency about the threat posed by climate change, environmental activism is spreading, and it's changing tactics. The group Extinction Rebellion have been staging their theatrical interventions in cities across Europe. In Cologne, I met Jakob. He's a doctor in A&E, he told me, so he knows what an emergency looks like. Do you feel that traditional politics is addressing your concerns?
Not at all, not at all. We all know what's happening, we all know what's going on, the Green Party knows it, but actually what happens is that there's nothing really happening.
What do you think about Yanis Varoufakis' movement in his Green New Deal?
I'm a little bit skeptical. I don't trust in this political system.
Rebellion! Rebellion!
Europe has never been richer.
It's 2 weeks to go until the election, and the Varoufakis campaign is in Dusseldorf. His message is unequivocal. If left unchecked, he says, the global capitalist system will destroy the planet. But his proposals are quite modest.
Our European Green New Deal explains how tomorrow morning, under existing regulations, we will soak up from the financial sector 500 billion euros every year for 5 years. Where does it come from? From the mountain of idle savings.
It's obviously a pretty small crowd, but there's some interesting ideas here. The thing that's not quite clear to me is this a genuine political movement, or is it a Yanis fan club? I just spoke to somebody from Extinction Rebellion, and they said, look, this all sounds great, but they've lost faith in the political system to answer their concerns.
They have every right.
But this is the political system that you're using as a vehicle.
Of course, we have to. It's great that the youngsters do not believe in the political system anymore, and they are treating us with contempt. We deserve to be treated with contempt so that we can wake up. And we have to prove to them. The onus is on us to prove to them that the political system can be transformed in a way that it makes a difference.
On the right, they've traditionally sung a different tune. Europe's populist nationalists are more likely to see immigration as a threat than climate change. On Saturday, Italy's Deputy Prime Minister addressed a rally in Milan. The big battle in this election is between the insurgent anti-EU populists and the parties of the traditional centre ground.
In questa piazza non ci sono estremisti, non ci sono razzisti, non ci sono fascisti. Gli estremisti sono quelli che hanno governato l'Europa per 20 anni nel nome della precarietà e della povertà.
Salvini was joined by a number of European nationalist leaders, including France's Marine Le Pen, in the hope of creating a unified group in the European Parliament. Meanwhile, Yanis Varoufakis and his small team of activists continue their tour of Germany by rail. The former Greek finance minister rejects the populist versus centrist narrative. He says they're two sides of the same coin.
Take Emmanuel Macron, the policies that he's implementing. Business as usual, austerity for the many and socialism for the very, very few, unwittingly are creating the discontent that feeds the Le Pens and the Salvinis.
In an age where the centre of gravity is towards a return to the nation-state, Varoufakis and his transnational coalition are swimming against the tide. But the issue of climate change transcends borders, and it's beginning to transcend political affiliations too. Ah, here we go. This looks like it. In a small town on the Franco-German border, we caught up with Marine Le Pen as she prepared to lay out her own environmental policies. You've made a big deal in this campaign about the environment. When I asked her about the Paris Climate Agreement, she pivoted to a sort of parable about migration.
Considérons qu'en réalité, l'écologie est l'enfant naturel du patriotisme. Parce qu'il est l'enfant naturel de l'enracinement. Parce que lorsqu'on est nomade, on n'est pas écologiste. Pour une raison simple, c'est que lorsqu'on est nomade, on arrive dans l'oasis, on coupe le palmier, on assèche le puits, et puis quand tout ça, quand il n'y a plus aucune ressource, on part ailleurs.
Excusez-moi, so far right. But then I asked her about economic policy. What did she think about Yanis Varoufakis' idea of a Green New Deal?
Écoutez, moi je pense que c'est le modèle économique qu'il faut profondément changer. On ne peut pas oser parler d'écologie quand on défend un modèle ultralibéral, quand on défend un modèle de libre-échange total. Ça, c'est profondément anti-écologie.
System change, not climate change. That's one of the slogans of Extinction Rebellion. It's also the kind of answer you might hear from Yanis Varoufakis.
I think we have to learn lessons from the ultra-right, because they proved you do not need to win government to shift the whole of the political scenery in a particular direction.
Just to go back to the environment, though, what they're saying is we deal with the environment through localism, keeping things very, very local.
Yeah, except that they can't do that.
Why not?
Well, because, climate change is something that requires both local and global solutions. We need to create economies of scale and scope within an energy union, and at the same time act locally. The right-wingers cannot offer that.
Next stop, Cologne University. Varoufakis says he doesn't really want to be a member of the European Parliament. He just wants others to listen to his ideas.
Politics is not fun, believe me. But I believe this. The only reason why we're doing this is because something needs to be done. And we believe that this is a rational way of doing it.
As you might expect, the crowd is mostly left-wing and generally receptive. What did you guys make?
I really like the idea of the Green New Deal. To use the European Investment Bank to invest in sustainable technologies, infrastructure.
Concern about climate change is no longer the preserve of the political left.
I think it would be really important if we could get away from, all these thinking of left, right, whatever, just that we make a good decision for the planet.
Marine Le Pen and Yanis Varoufakis disagree on almost everything. But in these times of political realignment, new fault lines are emerging, and old political adversaries occasionally converge in unexpected places.
Gabriel Gatehouse, well, whatever happens tomorrow, or indeed in the European elections, are we in the final straight of Theresa May's premiership?